That's what the African Union always do. They always miss the chance, miss the opportunity, and by the time you realize it's too late to intervene, the war is already exploded. Beyond our control, where we have to beg, our and when they do, we blame them. If they don't, we blame them, and then eventually, if that don't work, we pay our next so-called enemy to come and defend us like we're disabled. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
But I can't see the optimism. Good luck. Good luck with the optimism, guys. But the way I see things are going, I just think things are gonna get worse.
Yeah, I says you can be Arab and African. The issue is that Sudan aligns more with Arabs than Sub-Saharan Africa. Yep.
But that's a downfall. That's a downfall. If they were, it's funny because when you speak to the Black Sudanese brothers, right? In fact, most of them, like those that come from the certain tribes, because I speak to one, he's a Falata, the other guy is from different Sudan tribes. They actually more Pan-African, they're pro-Africans, but when he speak to like those Afro-Arabs, I spoke to one in the shop when I went to fix my phone. I asked him, where are you from? He said, Sudan. I said, what are you? What tribe? He said, Arab. And I said, really? I said, Arab? He's like, yeah. I said, you don't look Arab to me. You look like an African. He's like, no, I'm Arab. I'm like, all right, mate. It's crazy. And I went to the shop.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, go on, Kaiser.
Now, there was actually, like I mentioned, I had a Sudanese friend in Kenya. He actually left like just before the war broke out. It's kind of interesting. So he knew, because he was from the ground, he knew what was happening. So he came to Kenya to try business. He got scammed. Then he basically paid someone, half Kenyan, half Sudanese girl, to help him get the visa to go to the UK as a tourist. Then when he got to the UK, he burnt down his passport and sought asylum. Now, this interesting guy, asked him, right? Because he looked very African. He kind of looked like a mixture between a Kenyan, Somalian, and Ethiopian, like a mixture of those three. So I asked him, right, okay, Sudanese people, do you guys claim to be Arab? And he says, listen, we're African. We got a bit of mixture, but we're African. So for him, at least he knew what it was, right? But a lot of these other ones are definitely confused.
Yeah, they think they're Arab, and this is the problem. They will get pushed out eventually by the lightest Arabs, and the lighter skinned Arabs get pushed out by the real Arab. This is what happened in Egypt, and then years later they will claim Sudan is an Arab country, and they'll be like, "You have no history in Sudan. It wasn't yours. It was our pyramids." God, I'm tired. My people, Kaiser, right? From the west, from Toro, from Futa Toro. When I look at Sudan, I just laugh. When I look at Sudan and I hear what people say about my people and how, Fulani is this and that, you're lucky you got a great tribe like Fulani in West Africa. I'm telling you. I know we have so many great tribes in West Africa, but the West Africans are so lucky because a lot of this problem we managed to slow down in in what you call Chad today, right? Like Muhammadu Buhari, the last president of Nigeria, that's so hated by Nigerians. He's a general at the end of when he became a military president of Nigeria. Guess why? Because he went to the war in Sudan. He fought bitterly in Sudan against these invaders, right? And he lost all his battalion. He was the only survivor. That's what made him general, right? So I would like to hear one tribe or one other people, other group of people in that region that actually have connection, to the Chadic war, because that's not finished not long ago. And guess who finished that war? The Qatari came in and finished it. Guess who was sponsoring the Tuaregs? The Qatari, right? So I think we're fucked, man. Honestly, Africans are so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like, although that looks like a really dire situation going on. Mrs. H says, let them deal with it. Worrying about it, this won't stop. Yeah, I agree with you, Mrs. H. But here's the issue, right? These uncertainty in Sudan means uncertainty for the rest of the African continent, especially for East and Sahel Africa, right? Because those are the regions that are directly connected to Sudan. So what that means is, okay, let me make this really clear, Mrs. H. Do you want more jihadists coming through in East Africa? You already got Al-Shabaab over here. Do you want more of them to come down from there? Do you want Wagner to have full control over the area? Do you want what will happen is Sudan will be split into a Western hegemon and slash Arab, UAE and Saudi sort of puppet state, and then the other half is going to be a Wagner puppet state. That's now the problem that's going on here. If Africans can't find a peaceful way, and one of the issues you guys don't realize here is that, do you know why none of these sides are going to give up on their fight? Simple, because you Africans, right, believe in the international criminal court. These people are afraid that even if they, let's say, surrendered, they're going to get now prosecuted in some random court outside of their jurisdiction. That's also a big factor in this. Why do you think they're not going to give up? Because they're going to get prosecuted. So that's also another thing. You Africans need to find a different way of prosecuting these people instead of relying on foreigners, right? Do you think the Janjaweed leader is going to surrender? No, he's going to get prosecuted, right? They're going to take him to international criminal court. The same thing for the other general. So that's also another thing that you guys have to really think about, right? A lot of these leaders don't want to give up power because they don't want to be taken to foreign court.
Facts, guys, 100% fact. And you're right. If African Union don't have their own court, ECOWAS actually, last Nigerian president did build a court in Abuja, in Nigeria, for the West Africans. This is where they could be prosecuted and stuff like that. Because Nigeria obviously lead the front in West Africa when it comes to those things, right? But I wonder how many West African leaders have been brought over there for prosecution since it's been built. Because there's so many, violation of human rights and stuff like that in the region. So I don't know, man. I think if it's I think it's our generation gonna change that continent. These people that's there right now, they have no interest in serving people. No interest. They just want to line up their pockets, build alliance when they leave power, so they can come and stay in the white man country with their family and enjoy life. That's it.
Yep, and 100%. Sage says, let's hope Dwight man comes through for Sudan. I don't know what's gonna happen with Sudan, man. It's gonna take a lot to actually save this country. Just like Arabs can't help Palestinians, we can't help Sudan. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, right? People felt Nigeria was part of the greater, conversation of freedom. People don't really see value in Sudan, and they need to, because Sudan is a really big player, right? In terms of geopolitics, trade. Same thing with Somalia, right?
Bigger than the rest of them, Kaiser. I think Sudan is the most important, because if you look at where Sudan is located, it's very important.
Exactly, and I just don't see why. Again, we're the ones failing in this. That's why I'm actually holding us responsible. We need to stop being dusty, and we need to start actually doing things the right way. We gotta stop being dusty, man. That's the issue here. Africans, unfortunately, we're just being dusty. Yeah.
Kaiser, can I propose one thing? From today onward, can you do once a week a Sudan broadcast? Because at least that will change. Because that not only is quite unique on the internet space, because trust me, you're probably gonna get a different audience also from that region. Because it'd be nice to get someone from Sudan to call in. When I go to the barber shop, I'll actually try and get some of my guys to subscribe also, because they can give us something like that. All right.
Yeah, we can try that. That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. Yeah. Because
can I still? And I'm just gonna come back in 2 minutes. Yeah, just carry on while I'm doing this.
Okay. See ya.
All right.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, Sudan is the biggest conflict going on right now in the world, right? but we are too focused on areas that have nothing to do with us, right? Especially the Africans. So look, I get it, right? The media pushed on Gaza and Israel, but that's got nothing to do with us, right? There's nothing that look. Let me explain what that's got nothing to do with us. Even if, right, it triggered some world war event between Iran and Israel. They're the countries which supposedly might have access to nuclear weapons and all that stuff. Generally speaking, it has really very little to do with us, because the players that can actually do anything are going to be players that are way above any of the African countries. We're talking about America, we're talking about China, we're talking about Iran, we're talking about Israel, right? Meaning that the resolutions have nothing to do with Africa. It's not like a bunch of African politicians or presidents are going to go into Israel and Gaza and say something and it being meaningful enough for the war to end. That's not going to happen. Meaning the Israel-Gaza situation, that's got nothing to do with us. But Sudan, 100% everything to do with us. We're talking about oil prices, right? If you increase oil prices, Africans can't afford it. If Africans can't afford it, how are they going to do trade? If they can't do trade, economy collapses. If the economy collapses, you have a whole nation that's going to start having several different anarchy going on, right? This is very directly related to the stability of our nations, right? You do not want another destabilized big African country happening that has access to the Red Sea, that has the potential to attract jihadist militias. We're talking about Western puppetry going on. You got, again, like I mentioned, right? You got so many different players acting in Sudan right now. You got the Wagner and Russia supporting the Janjaweed. You've got the UAE supporting and the West supporting the government, and even the West is low key supporting Janjaweed. The West doesn't even care who wins. The West just wants a puppet that they can control. So the West is even playing both sides. So that's the general situation that we don't want. And the government, again, is very pro-Gulf, right? The government is the one that sent Janjaweed into Yemen to fight the war for them. That's how they came back extremely well trained, right? That's exactly why the war didn't just end after 1 week. It's because the Rapid Support Forces, aka Janjaweed, is extremely well versed in modern warfare. They actually have experience, right? They've been fighting in the Gulf for a while. They understand how to fight modern warfare. So even if they have lower technologies, they have lower ammunitions and guns and all of that stuff, they're definitely very, very, very skilled and very, very experienced. And in this modern warfare, if you have experience and skill, then you're definitely going to be able to put up a fight. Let's see. Mrs. H says, all Red Sea African countries are destabilized. Yep. And that is not by accident. That's a really great point. That is not by accident. That is one of those things that, unfortunately, Africans aren't really able to see past the facts. ISIS, the few Sudanese people I know over here in the US seem to be apathetic on the situation in Sudan. In fact, they seem to avoid this topic at large. That's interesting, actually.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Sita hi walalo.
يا دافع عني ولا نسيتها.
Okay. What's good, brother? Long time, man. What have you been doing on TikTok, man?
Good.
That's why I started YouTube.
I've been destroying Oromos on TikTok, but I'm back to YouTube now.
There's a lot of Oromos on TikTok, man. How come they don't come YouTube? Is it too high IQ for them?
It's too high IQ for them, It's too high
Yeah,
IQ.
they're all over TikTok, man, but you never see them on YouTube.
All they do in TikTok is claim Somali tribes, Yeah, man, the expansion is real. The expansion is definitely real. I'm gonna say, what we are witnessing is alhamdulillah, is the end of Arabism. Arabism has come to an end. It's going to die out very soon, and then we are going to it's going to go back to Muslim only. Arab it was a thing that was created, to destroy the Muslim Ummah, and right now I'm so happy it's coming to an end, and yes, man. So that's what we're witnessing. Thank you very much.
Pan-Arabism is ended. Okay.
No, not pan-Arabism. Arabism in general, like Arabism.
Okay.
Yeah, mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is kind of interesting, right? The situation, because as you mentioned, Arabism is ending, right? But when you see, but okay, let me ask you a question though, still, right, on the Israel-Gaza situation. How come no Muslim country or Arab country, let's say even Arab, right? Since Palestinians are Arabs, forget even the Islamic part, right? How come they literally said, like, okay, Jordanians are not really Arabs, I know, but still they're part of that whole greater Middle Eastern coalition, right? It's like, different between the Nilo Bantu or something like that, right? It's a small difference, right, between the Jordanians and the Arabs. So how come none of them took on any refugees? They actually said, we will not take on Palestinian refugees, man. What's going on? I don't know.
Well,
Supposed to be similar
ever
people.
since the formation of those countries in the Middle East, there was full like the people that are put in place to lead those and the families that they claim to be from are not really true. Like it's like if you really look into those families that are what's it called, running the Middle East, that are the heads or whatever, that claim to be from a certain lineage. They are really the small hats. That's what they really are. If you really look into it and really look into the history of those people that are the families that run it, they are all small hat families. That took over. So it's not really a surprise to me. That they would side with with Israel rather than Palestine. Because like it's just they're all one family. And yeah, man, like it's sad. But at the end of the day, I don't expect none of them to really be with the Palestinians. The only thing the Palestinians, God, the only person they can rely on is God at this time. No one else but God still. So yeah, man, like those Arab neighbors they sold out. That's what it is, bruv. And the only people that are really trying to really doing something to help them out are the Iranians, and you know what I mean, like those type of the other side of the Shiites, we call them the Shiites. They're the ones that are really putting up a resistance. But when it comes to those Middle Eastern guys, the Khalij countries, they're not really doing nothing, to be fair. So yeah, man, it's a eye opener for the Muslim world. So they can see who's really who at the moment, and it's showing you that this Arabism, this whole thing about Arabism, is coming to an end. And rightfully so. It should be coming to an end because Arabism it was a disease that was implanted into the Muslim world to divide people amongst tribes. Back then, if you were from Mali, you say I'm Muslim. You're from Turkey, you say I'm Muslim. You're from Indonesia, you say I'm Muslim. That's how people used to identify, and then they made everything. They made this nationalism, made countries, and you know what I mean, and ended up dividing the Muslim world among tribes. So right now, people are seeing what's really going on, and yeah, man, Arabism is going to come to an end. When that comes to an end, then yeah, like it's gonna be a very sticky situation for the West, in my opinion, for sure.
My my brother, do you think it's a good thing then for Africans for that to come to an end?
Sorry, I never heard that. Say it again.
Do you think it's a good thing for us Africans for this Arabism to come to an end?
Oh yes, that's a great thing for us, for the Arabism to come to an end. Because if you really look at it, back in the day, before the Arabism, we had a lot of power in the Muslim world because of there was no such thing as Arabism.
No.
Especially look at the modern.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
What's really holding us back? Yeah, is that what's really holding the African Muslims back is the Arabism. Because people think when you think of Muslim, you think of Arab. You think of Islam, you think of Arab. When it's not that. The truth is the majority of the Islamic history took place in
yeah,
Africa. So I mean,
yeah,
yeah. So it's gonna be very good for us.
absolutely, exactly. From when what's his name, Ibn Nafi came to Chad, because the what's his name, the Shua Arabs, the Kanuris. That's
Yes, yes,
that's their bloodline. That because they brought Islam to the region. With Ibn Nafi, the Arab warrior. Since those days, Africa has just been, you know, um, Africa was transformed during certain period of Islam. It was transformed. It was actually, a great place historically. We had commercial routes all over the world. We can trade backward and forward and stuff like that. And then obviously, bam, everything started falling apart. And I believed is when the Arabism came in, that's when everything started falling apart.
Facts.
Like
Facts.
for example, the Mali Empire. What an amazing Islamic empire it was. It was known. Like in England, when the Englishman said, "I'm going to Timbuktu," in the ancient world, it's like us saying we're going to New York or to Dubai. That's how much relevant Timbuktu was to the world. you know. And then eventually,
Exactly.
because I hear Tunisia always spit some rubbish about Islam destroy the Mali Empire, which is not true. The reason why the Mali Empire was destroyed, it was because of the Morsi Empire that was in Burkina Faso. They're the one that destroyed the Mali Empire. They're the one that started causing problem, and then the empire started crumbling. Then we had outsiders coming in. You always start with our own people first, right? This is what I'm saying before about why Africans are so, scared about outsiders. When Africans are united, no outsider is ever able to defeat us, right? But when we're divided, we start fighting inwards and start calling for outside help, or doing, like, for example, the Songhai Empire was an empire that was an Islamic empire. At the end of it, that was really bad. That was in the Muslim, only a Muslim empire. In fact, the Ali Songhai, he killed so many Africans. He was known to the ancient world as the biggest, genocidal leader in world history. I don't know if you read about Ali Songhai. And since
Yes, I've heard of him.
yeah,
Yes.
at the end of his reign, we never recovered in West Africa since his reign. We never recovered. We never managed to build relevant empires and do better things. So you can see the good and the bad. You can see the good and the bad of Islam in our region. However, it was great when we was in control of our religion. We was great people then. But when we let the outsiders come in and start controlling our religion, that's when everything start falling apart. Maybe us as Africans, we should take it as a lesson, right? To say,
Of
right,
course.
enough of this Arabism in our continent now. That's enough. Don't want no Salafism, anything that coming from the Saudi book. If it's not coming from the Quran, keep it. We don't want it. It's your culture. It's not our culture. It's
Facts.
not our
Facts.
culture. Yeah? It's a way. It should be a way.
And people need to stop thinking like a lot of people. They because Saudi Arabia has the what's it called, is the country where the Kaaba, Mecca, all of that is.
Yeah,
People still think in the days of the Khalifa, so they don't want to talk. They don't want to. They're scared to kind of go against the whole people that run that area. When in general, when you look at the Khalifas that that came before us, if one Khalifa
yeah,
was doing wrong, that
yeah.
another empire will come conquer that empire, that place, and
Right.
then become the new Khalifa. So this like whole thing where it's just kumbaya because like we have the olden days system is gone. The whole Khalifa system is not there no more. The people that we have over
Yeah,
there are sent out puppets that are
yeah,
trying to destroy the Muslim Ummah. So
yeah.
we should get like we should like Arabism finally it's been shown that it's a fake brotherhood. It's it's all tribal. Because at the end of the day, the Arabs, they're very tribal. They say they're not, this Palestinian is not really Arab. They say that the Iraqis and the Syrians are not really Arab. So it's all tribal. No one's really Arab. The only people that can claim Arab are the Yemeni
I
ones.
know.
And look at them.
Yes, I know. To my brother, is the Islamic sect as well. Like, but the Palestinian are Shia Muslims, just like the Iranians. So they're not considered as real Muslim by the Sunni Muslim. So Sunni Muslim, therefore, don't care. They don't get involved because they think, oh, this are not the.
Exactly, and it's sad.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened in Nigeria, where other Muslims target other Muslims because they're not sect of Islam. At the end of the day, you don't get that with other religion, right? I mean, a Christian, if a Christian, you're Christian.
Even we never had that. When you
Whether
go
you
back
go
to
to the
when you go to the
Methodist
Muslim history,
or Pentecostal or
we never had that.
evangelical, sorry, sorry, brother.
Wait,
Sorry.
let me call back in. My thing is kind of bugging. I'm gonna call back in.
All right.
Yeah, one second. Let me just shout out to the sponsors of the stream. We got one man went to Mo with a £2 super chat. Shout out to you, brother. Mad appreciations. And also shout out to with a $10 super sticker. Shout out to you for sponsoring this show. And also, as I said earlier, I will be doing the stream on culture as well. I know I've not been doing it as much on the tribalism and different ethnicities and genetics. I know I've not been doing that stream, and I know that's what the Dust Smileys love. To be honest, I'll be doing more of that. So shout out to you. But yeah, yeah, this whole situation, man. I really hope that it actually sets Africa up on the right position, right? Because here's the thing, Al. Let's be realistic about this, right? There was a country called Nauru. I don't know if you want me to show you something here, right? Because Nauru, right? Nauru was the richest country in the world in the 70s, by the way. Like, no
Okay.
cap. Right? Nauru. Let me just find a video. Let me download it quickly, right? And I'll analyze it just to give people the context, right?
No problem.
And
No problem. I'm coming to the next place anyway, so that'll be a good timing for me. So I'll just be quiet.
okay. Yeah, Nauru was actually the richest country in the world in the 70s, right? They had a GDP per capita 3 times more than they did for countries like America, right? But you know what happened? Unfortunately, because of corruption, lack of foresight, the country is now is not terribly poor country, but the landscape's ruined. They've got no agricultural land. The GDP dropped down. It's still $10,000 per person per year, which is higher than most African countries, but they went from being the richest country in the world, 3 times higher GDP than America in the 70s and early 80s, right? That's got to tell you something. We as Africans, right, we are literally on the precipice of making change happen, right? What that means is, right, we literally control so much resources, as I mentioned before. Right now, we're talking about lithium. Lithium is the biggest technology irrelevant to renewable energy storage devices. We're talking about battery technology as a simple one, right? We're talking about European Union's mission. It's like, as Africans, can't we just see the future? European Union has been telling us we are going to be moving against this whole oil thing slowly and slowly. Cars right now being created in Europe, within the next 5 years, they will not be making any more straight out diesel or petrol cars unless it's for special reasons. Meaning everything is going to be electronic. If everything is electronic, you need batteries. If you need batteries, countries like Nigeria, Zimbabwe, just naming a few, Congo, they have all these resources. If you niggas could just put that stuff, and I don't mean just, okay, we're going to export raw minerals and get rich that way. Nah, that's not sustainable. Go and invest in a mineral mining company like South Africa did, and also Botswana did. Botswana invested in a mining company. Botswana can do everything from the ground level all the way to the value added chain, right? They can go extra. They can go do the mineral discovery and exploration team, right? They've got that on lock. They can do and excavate the minerals. They can go process the minerals, right? Then they can go and then add value to the minerals and even turn them into gems. I'm just talking about diamond as a simple example. But they have, once you already invested in the ability to go and start mining, what do you think that means? I don't want Africa to be like Nauru, right? Now forget even Nauru. Africa doesn't even reach the point where it becomes rich because of heavy corruption. I'm just saying, guys, listen, we have so much advantages right now. We have access to a lot of the technologically relevant minerals right now in Africa. If we can simply invest in our own companies that excavate, why do you think Norway is so rich? Bro, Norway is the richest country in the world right now. Do you know why? And it's not just small population. That's something which people like to say, nah. Norway just discovered, guess what? A whole $24 trillion worth of minerals. I believe it was phosphorus just recently. And it's already a rich country with the oil, right? What Norway did is they did what Botswana and South Africa did. And yes, the small population helps, but it's not the only factor. Norway is the richest country in the world right now, and they've just discovered a new reservoir of all these minerals, $24 trillion worth. Bro, if Africa could just be organized, could just understand the fact that they are literally winning in this market, they could move forward and they could move far. But the issue is, I just don't see us focusing on the right things at the right time. Anyway, let me, I believe the video is downloaded, right? So I'm going to share what happened to Nauru. I know Africa will stabilize. I'm going to be talking about Africa not mishandling their resources. Yeah, so there's no need to actually share, right? I can just read the screen, right? There's no words. So this is a story about Nauru. It was a nickname, the country that ate itself, right? So over there, as you can see, it's in Oceania, right? So it's close to Australia, right? It's a small country, it's a small island, and of course the population was pretty small, right? Most of them just live around the coast, right? So we're gonna see what happened to this country, right? Surrounded by a central plateau over there. You can see uh, contains huge phosphorus deposit. Look at that. There was a lot of phosphorus deposits on this nation. They had so much to the point whereby when they started excavating it and then exporting it, they became the richest country in terms of GDP per capita, 3 times higher than America at that time. Yeah, phosphorus. Yeah, but the main thing is agriculture, right? Phosphorus, phosphonitrates and all that sort of compounds are really useful when it comes to agriculture. You can feed the world by excavating and creating fertilizer. For example, value addition. I keep talking about it, right? Ethiopia has so much phosphorus and limestones. Why are they not actually exporting? Why are they not a leading exporter of fertilizer? Why are we still buying fertilizer from Russia and Ukraine? I just don't get it. Right, so this country, again, the results become, they started 1906, they started exploiting it, right? They were still obviously under colonialism at that time, right? So, of course, the money, a lot of it went into the colonizer, right? Then Australia took some control, right? And then when Nauru finally gained independence, of course, it was the smallest country, right? A very small population, like 4,000 people or so. Right, they started to explore the resources. Right, they started exploiting phosphorus. Right, they started getting into it, and as I mentioned, phosphorus is really key ingredient in fertilizers. Sure, explosive as well. So there's now an military industrial sort of complex going on there. Right, they started getting rich really quickly. By 1974, look at that. Right, he had the second highest GDP per capita in the world by 1974. Right. Look at that. It was 3 times higher than the United States of America. So these people at that point, right, if they now invested in education and started becoming a service-driven economy, and instead of just ruining the landscape and then leaving it like that, right, the country in that year generated 255, that's a lot of money at that time, right, Australian dollars. They even got themselves an airline. Now, here's the thing. You do not need an airline when you're a small country. I don't get it, right? You don't need an airline. You might need an airstrip for you. That's what I'm trying to say. Like bro, you are a small country, 22 kilometers square miles. You do not need an airline. What you might need is an airstrip for airplanes to land and maybe a couple airplanes. You don't need an airline, though. That's a bad investment over there already. Yeah, they're feeling rich. But, when you're on the high, here's the thing. The high comes and the low comes, right? You need to plan yourself to weather the storm when the low comes. And that's, unfortunately, I don't want Africans to go down that path. Right? Now, they increase welfare for everyone. That's good. That's nothing bad about that. Made investments abroad. That's good. Nothing bad about that. Right? Nothing wrong yet, apart from, okay, now here's the issue. The deposits ran out. Right now, in the Arab world, they know that the oil is running out. They also know that even if the oil doesn't run out, the European Union has a different mission for this green technology. Why do you think? And again, right? So I have a research paper from with collaboration with the University of King Abdullah University and some researchers there. Now, here's the thing. Places like King Abdullah University and other Arabian sort of universities, you know what they do? They pay Westerners so much money. They pay Westerners so much money to come in and teach their people and also do research in their countries. Why do you think that? This is supposed to be one of those anti-women Islamic countries, but do you know what? They're educating both men, women, and they're focusing on getting the highest skills. Not just Westerners, even Nigerian doctors are there. Why do you think so? Because they know that it's not a sustainable economy to rely only on a resource that right now the European Union mission is to block out non-green energy sources. They're thinking about the future, right? Saudi and the UAE are bringing in education so that they can find something else to now weather the storm when everything about oil starts going down. This country, unfortunately, didn't do it the right way. Yeah, it began to collapse. Of course, it made a lot, they made a lot of real estate investments, in the country didn't prove useful because there was no economy anymore. The land was destroyed by mining, so they already, no longer had the fauna and the flora, the natural, plants of the area. They started going down, so no one even wanted to come to the island anymore, right? Most of the land was destroyed, so no more agriculture. Right now, obviously, they have to import everything. Even the marine life had been destroyed, right? Buildings, they invest in really high tech buildings and all of that stuff, but there was no longer business there because they didn't invest in a service sector, right? So they tried everything, and this is where, of course, they started trying laundering foreign money, um, selling passports, right? That's what Kenya's trying to do right now, selling citizenships for like, I don't know, $15,000, right? Because they got no money, right? So they started doing this, and of course, the issue when you start doing money laundering and all these illegal activities, the rest of the world's going to think that you are corrupt, and then they're going to start looking at you as if you're, a bad country to do business with. Yep, and unfortunately, they yeah, they started being accused by everyone, and their country collapsed. Now they're still not the poorest country in the world, right? They're still making $10,000 per person. But imagine going from the richest country to, what, upper middle income country. That's a huge, huge, huge thing. The obesity rate. I'm not gonna start talking about all the bad stuff that's happening in their country, like obesity and type 2 diabetes and all of that stuff. But this country had the potential to be great, and they didn't follow it. Norway did. Norway invested in their own oil rig system. They invested for 15 years, right? 15 years. If an African country can do something like that, right? Invest in 15 years in an oil exploration team, fully funded, right? Make sure it's got the best graduates from any African country working in that company. Do you not think Africa would now be doing well? Of course it would, right? Even Dangote hasn't got a proper oil system, right? They got the oil rig that they're building the oil thing, but that was built by many other people in collaboration. If an African country can just go and be able to do that themselves, that's going to change the game so much. That's the truth, man. Right? We have to change the